Welcome to Monk's Temple. Close your eyes for a moment. Just feel the space you're in. The weight of your body on the chair or the floor. The subtle temperature of the air on your skin. The distant, muffled sounds of the world outside your room. For now, let all of that just be. You don't need to change any of it. You don't need to fix your posture, or silence the world. Just notice it. This noticing, this simple, gentle awareness, is where our journey begins. Not with a grand effort, but with a quiet return. You've been taught, perhaps, that peace is a destination. That it lies on the other side of a finished to-do list, a perfect relationship, a bank account with a certain number, a mind finally free of worry. You've been handed a map that says, strive here, control there, grasp tightly, and eventually, you will arrive. But if that map were true, why does the destination always seem to move? Why does the peace you felt upon achieving one thing evaporate so quickly, replaced by the quiet anxiety of the next thing? What if the map was wrong? What if peace isn't a place you arrive at, but a manner of traveling? What if the very effort to grasp it is what pushes it away? Tonight, we won't be adding another item to your spiritual to-do list. We won't be striving for a higher state. Instead, we'll be exploring the art of subtraction. The gentle unclenching of the hand. The courageous act of letting the river carry you, instead of exhausting yourself by swimming against the current. I want to tell you a story. Not from an ancient text, but from a modern laboratory. Scientists once conducted an experiment with a simple pond plant called duckweed. They placed it in a petri dish with water and shone a light on one side. Naturally, the tiny plants, seeking photosynthesis, slowly drifted toward the light. Then, the researchers began gently tapping the dish, creating tiny, chaotic waves. What happened? The duckweed, disturbed by the turbulence, started frantically moving its little roots, trying to paddle, trying to reorient itself, trying to control its path back to the light. In doing so, in all that frantic effort, it actually moved slower and with more difficulty toward its goal. When the tapping stopped, and the water became still, the plant stopped its frantic paddling. It relaxed. And in that relaxation, the natural currents of the water, the subtle movements inherent in the system, carried it gracefully and efficiently to the light. You are that duckweed. Your mind is those frantic roots. The tapping is the noise of life, the demands, the fears, the endless internal chatter. And the light, that sense of peace, of wholeness, of home, is always present. Our suffering isn't caused by the light being absent. It's caused by our frantic, exhausting paddling, our insistence on controlling a journey that a deeper, wiser part of us already knows how to make. So tonight, let's explore what happens when we stop paddling. When we learn the difference between effort that flows, and effort that fights. Let's start by looking honestly at the mechanism of control. It's not some villainous force. It's a protection strategy, invented by a part of you that loves you deeply and is desperately afraid. Think of a child building a sandcastle too close to the shore. They build walls, moats, towers. They concentrate fiercely. Their whole world becomes that castle. Then a wave approaches. Not a tsunami, just a gentle, inevitable swell. The child's body tenses. They might throw their hands out, as if to stop the water. They might shout. The wave comes. It touches the outer wall. The sand darkens. The wall softens, begins to melt. The child's face falls. What is felt in that moment? It feels like a personal failure. A violation. A betrayal by the ocean. This is the seed of the controlling mind. It builds structures, plans, identities, expectations, routines, on the shifting sand of an impermanent world. And when life, which moves like the ocean, inevitably touches those structures, the mind interprets it as danger. It learns, I must build higher walls. I must watch the tides more carefully. I must control more. The strategy isn't stupid. It's logical, given the assumption that the sandcastle, my happiness, my security, must be preserved at all costs. I remember a time in my own life when this architecture was my entire reality. I was living in a bustling city, my calendar a mosaic of colored blocks, each one representing a commitment, a goal, a step on a ladder I was desperately trying to climb. My peace was a future event, scheduled for after. After this project, after this promotion, after I lost that weight, after I found the right partner. One evening, after a particularly long day of back-to-back meetings, all aimed at securing a future I thought would finally make me feel secure, I was walking to the subway. I was mentally already in the next day's meetings, rehearsing conversations, when I literally walked into a street musician. My papers flew. His guitar case opened. For a moment, there was just chaos. The honking of a stuck taxi, the scattered pages, the confused apologies. And then, as we both knelt to gather my things, he started to laugh. A deep, rolling, unself-conscious laugh. He picked up a sheet of my quarterly projections, looked at the graphs and charts, and smiled. "Hermano," he said, "you are carrying so many tomorrows, you are tripping over today." He strummed a single, clean chord on his guitar. The note hung in the grimy city air. And in that moment, the entire architecture of my anxiety, the walls of plans, the moats of worry, just shuddered. I saw it for what it was, a frantic, beautiful, doomed sandcastle. The wave wasn't a disaster, it was the ocean reminding me it was there. The musician's laugh was the sound of a different intelligence, one that didn't build castles, but danced with the waves. We often mistake this architecture of control for responsibility. They are not the same. Responsibility is the ability to respond. It is presence. It is caring for what is in front of you with your full attention. Control is the attempt to predetermine. It is living in a projected future, trying to force life into a predetermined shape. One is rooted in love, the other is rooted in fear. One is fluid, the other is rigid. Consider the ancient Stoics of Greece and Rome, like Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled one of the largest empires in history from the front lines of battle camps. His philosophy was not about controlling his empire, an impossible task, but about mastering his own perceptions and actions. He wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He built an inner citadel, not of stone, but of awareness, because he knew the outer world was as changeable as the sea. His control was directed inward, toward his judgments and responses, not outward, toward trying to freeze the world. This is a profound geographic shift, from trying to manage the external landscape to tending the internal one. The controlling mind is a brilliant, tireless manager. But it is managing a fiction, the fiction of a permanent, predictable world. Its tools are worry, planning, comparison, and rehearsal. It believes that if it can just simulate every possible outcome, it can avoid pain. But in doing so, it lives every possible pain in advance, and often misses the singular, unscripted beauty of the present moment, which is the only place life is actually happening. Now, to understand why control is an illusion, we must understand the intelligence of the path itself, which rarely follows our straight lines. The mind loves straight lines. It adores efficiency. But life, in its profound wisdom, prefers circles, spirals, and gentle, winding curves. I once spent time with a Quechua elder in the high Andes of Peru. We were looking at a footpath that wound its way up a steep mountain face. To my Western, efficiency-oriented eye, the path seemed absurd. It zigzagged wildly, doubled back on itself in places, and took long, leisurely traverses across gentle slopes instead of beelining for the summit. I pointed to a seemingly more direct route up a rocky gully. "Wouldn't it be faster to go that way?" I asked. The elder, whose name was Kusi, smiled, his face a landscape of wrinkles carved by sun and wind. "That way," he said, pointing to the gully, "is for the water. It falls straight down because it is in a hurry to leave the mountain. It has no breath. The path," he gestured to the winding trail, "is for the living. It walks with the mountain. It rests where the mountain offers rest. It sees what the mountain wishes to show it. The APU, the spirit of the mountain, does not give its gifts to those who are in a hurry to conquer it. It gives them to those who walk with it." He then told me a story about the path's origin. "It wasn't designed by an engineer," he said. "It was formed over generations by the llamas. Llamas, when carrying a load, instinctively choose the route of least resistance, not the shortest distance. They seek stable footing, gentle inclines, places to browse, and spots sheltered from the wind. They walk not with a map of the summit in mind, but with a felt sense of the next safe, sustainable step." Over centuries, the collective wisdom of countless llama journeys, their innate understanding of balance, energy, and harmony with the terrain, or that winding, intelligent path into the mountainside. Humans simply learn to follow it. Our minds are obsessed with the gully. The straight shot. The fastest route from A to B. We see the winding path as inefficient, a detour, a failure of planning. But the winding path holds a deeper wisdom. It is the path of sustainability. It is the path that conserves your life force. It is the path that allows you to actually experience the journey, to be shaped by it, rather than just exhausted from it. The goal of the llama is not just to reach the pasture, it is to arrive there with its load intact, its energy preserved, its being still whole. Isn't that what we truly want? Not just to achieve, but to arrive well. Kusi's lesson was a mirror. How often had I chosen the gully in my own life? The direct, brutal, will-powered assault on my goals. I had arrived at summits, yes, but often breathless, depleted, having seen nothing but the rocks in front of my face, only to look down and wonder why the view felt hollow. I had mistaken the exhaustion of the climb for its worthiness. There is a term in physics, ergodicity. It describes a system where the average outcome over time for a single entity is the same as the average outcome across many entities at a single point in time. But human lives are non-ergodic. One catastrophic misstep on the gully, a broken ankle, a heart attack from overexertion, ends the journey entirely. The winding path, by prioritizing safety and sustainability over speed, ensures you actually get to experience the long-term average. It ensures there is a long-term to experience. Control often chooses the non-ergodic path, the high-risk, high-speed route, and then is shocked when the single point of failure arrives. The winding path is the ergodic path of life. It is the path that understands you only have this one journey, this one body, this one spirit, and it must be treated with the care a lama shows its burden. The winding path teaches us about trust. When you follow it, you are surrendering your linear, impatient mind to a wisdom older than your plans. You are acknowledging that the terrain itself has intelligence. That there are forces, the incline of the land, the stability of the rock, the direction of the wind, that know more about the journey than your preconceived notion of it does. To walk the winding path is to practice non-striving. You are still moving upward. You are still making effort. But the quality of the effort has changed. It is no longer a fight against the mountain, it is a collaboration with it. You let the path guide your pace. You pause on the switchback and catch the view you would have missed in the gully. You arrive, not as a conqueror, but as a guest who has been welcomed. This principle is echoed in the Chinese philosophy of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-forcing. It is not inaction. It is action that is so perfectly aligned with the natural flow of things that it appears effortless, like a sailor trimming their sails to catch the wind just right. The sailor doesn't create the wind, they collaborate with it. The winding path is Wu Wei made visible in geography. When we begin to loosen our grip, to walk the winding path, we start to notice something extraordinary. We are not alone in our journey. Life itself becomes a silent partner, offering support in ways our controlling minds could never have orchestrated. Think of a fallen log in an old-growth forest. To our eyes, it might seem like an end. A dead thing. But place your hand on it. It's warm, soft, teeming with invisible life. Mosses cloak it in emerald velvet. Fungi send delicate filaments through its heart, breaking it down into rich soil. Beetles and ants navigate miniature canyons in its bark. Seeds from the towering trees above, seeds that would never have germinated on the thick forest floor, find a perfect nursery in this decaying wood, a nurse log. From death, 100 new lives emerge. The log doesn't try to be a nursery. It doesn't strive to be useful. It simply is. And in its simple, surrendered being, it becomes the foundation for the next generation of giants. Your so-called failures, your crumbled plans, your disappointments, they are your nurse logs. The controlling mind sees only the fallen tree, the death of a hope. It grieves the solid structure it once was. But if you can step back from that story, if you can place your hand on the warmth of that experience without judgment, you may feel the subtle, teeming life within it. The lessons taking root. The resilience growing in the dark. The new possibilities that could only germinate in the soft, broken down soil of a plan that didn't work. The Japanese art of kintsugi, mending broken pottery with gold, speaks to this same truth. The breakage is not hidden. It is illuminated, made part of the object's history and beauty. The nurse log is nature's kintsugi. The broken thing becomes the fertile ground. Your broken plans can become the fertile ground for a wisdom that could not have grown in the unbroken, but sterile, soil of perpetual success. There is a scientific principle at work here, borrowed from chemistry, autocatalysis. This is a process where the products of a reaction themselves act as catalysts to speed up the very reaction that produced them. It's a self-sustaining, self-amplifying loop. In a very real way, trust is autocatalytic. One small act of surrender, like choosing not to replay an angry conversation, or deciding to sleep instead of worry, or taking the scenic route home without rushing, produces a tiny result, a moment of peace, a flicker of relief. That peace, that relief, then makes it slightly easier to trust again the next time. It fuels the next act of letting go. A virtuous, self-amplifying cycle begins, opposite to the vicious cycle of anxiety and control, which is also autocatalytic. Worry leads to more constriction, which leads to more fear, which leads to more worry. You are always in one loop or the other. The practice is to gently nudge yourself from the loop of control into the loop of trust. I witnessed this autocatalysis of trust in a most unexpected place, a pottery studio in rural Japan. I was visiting a master potter, a man in his 80s named Hiroshi. He worked on a traditional kick wheel, his hands covered in slick, gray clay. I watched for hours as he centered lumps of earth, opened them, pulled up walls, shaped vessels. His movements were fluid, effortless, almost lazy. But the pots that emerged were breathtakingly symmetrical and alive. I, eager to learn, asked him the secret to centering the clay, the most fundamental and difficult skill. I expected a technical treatise on hand pressure, will speed. He just smiled and said, "The clay wants to be centered. Your job is not to force it into the center. Your job is to remove everything in you that is not the center. Your shaking hands, your impatient thoughts, your desire for a perfect pot. When you are empty of those, the clay finds its own center. It happens by itself. You are just the space in which it occurs." He was describing the silent partner. The intelligence within the clay itself, within the spinning wheel, within the laws of physics. His mastery was not a domination over the material, it was a profound partnership with it. He provided the steady, empty awareness, the natural world provided the intelligence of form. The pot emerged from the collaboration, not from his will alone. This mirrors the findings of modern neuroscience on the flow state. When in flow, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of the conscious, controlling, self-monitoring you, actually downregulates. It's called transient hypofrontality. The inner critic goes quiet. The sense of separate self softens. And in that space, deeper, more intuitive parts of the brain can communicate seamlessly with the body, leading to performance that feels effortless and precise. The potter wasn't just speaking poetically, he was describing a neurological reality of mastery. Effortless action occurs when the controlling self gets out of the way. We are that potter, and our lives are the clay. We exhaust ourselves trying to force the uncentered mass into a perfect shape, battling its natural tendencies, fighting its wobbles. True shaping begins when we stop adding force and start subtracting interference. When we become still enough, empty enough, for the innate intelligence of life. The same intelligence that grows a tree from a seed, that heals a cut on your skin, that spins planets in orbit, to find its own center within us. Our actions then become not acts of creation, but acts of midwifery. We are not making the pot, we are allowing the pot to be made through us. This is the essence of true creativity, whether in art, business, or relationships. It is not about imposing your will upon the void, but about listening so deeply to what wants to emerge that you become its conduit. Our greatest obstacle in feeling this partnership is the very instrument we use to navigate the world, the thinking mind. It is a magnificent tool. It can build bridges, write symphonies, cure diseases. But it has a fatal flaw: it tends to believe it is the master, not the servant. It confuses the map for the territory, the menu for the meal. Imagine a master carpenter. He has a beloved, razor-sharp chisel. It is perfect for shaping wood, for carving fine details. One day, he tries to use the chisel to stir his soup. It's clumsy, it scratches the pot, it doesn't work well. Frustrated, he then tries to use it to tighten a screw. He damages the screw head. He tries to use it to cut fabric. He ruins the cloth. With each failure, he doesn't think, "I am using the wrong tool." He thinks, "The world is resisting me. The soup is wrong. The screw is defective." He begins to sharpen the chisel more furiously, applying more force, blaming the materials for not yielding to his chosen instrument. This is the tyranny of the analytical, controlling mind. It is a brilliant chisel. It is designed for analysis, for planning, for solving discrete problems. But we try to use it to stir the soup of our emotions, and we end up scratching our own hearts. We try to use it to tighten the screw of interpersonal connection, and we strip the threads of intimacy. We try to use it to cut the fabric of the present moment into a perfect shape, and we tear the beauty of what is. And with each failure, we don't question the tool. We assume we just need to think harder, plan better, control more. We sharpen the chisel of our worry until it is dangerously sharp, and then wonder why we feel so cut up inside. This is what psychologists call the ironic process of mental control. The more you try to suppress a thought or emotion, the more it persists. Trying to mentally control your inner state is like trying to smooth ripples in a pond by pressing down on the water with a flat hand. You just create more ripples. The mind's primary language is past and future. It is a superb archivist and an anxious prophet. But it is illiterate in the language of the present, which is the language of direct sensation, feeling, and being. It's like trying to read a poem by weighing the book. You get data, the book is 1.2 pounds. But you completely miss the meaning, the beauty, the experience. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor, in her book, My Stroke of Insight, describes how a stroke in her left hemisphere, the seat of linear, linguistic, analytical thinking, temporarily shut off that chisel. What remained was the right hemisphere's experience, a flood of present moment sensory information, a feeling of profound connection to everything, a blissful peace. She wasn't thinking about her life, she was life, flowing. Her recovery involved learning to use the left hemisphere tool again, but without letting it become the tyrannical narrator of her existence. We must make a similar recovery from our cultural over-reliance on this one tool. I fell into this trap for years in my personal relationships. Faced with a loved one's sadness or anger, my mind would immediately switch into chisel mode. It would try to solve the emotion. What's the root cause? What's the logical solution? What should they do? What should I say to fix this? I was using my analytical tool on the delicate fabric of human feeling. My intentions were loving, but my tool was all wrong. The result was that the person felt analyzed, not held. They felt like a problem to be solved, not a heart to be met. I was stirring the soup with a chisel, wondering why it kept spilling. The shift happened not when I found a better tool, but when I learned to put the chisel down. To simply hold the space. To listen not for data to analyze, but for the music beneath the words, the tone, the silence, the ache. I had to switch from the mind tool to the heart space. The heart doesn't solve, it contains. It doesn't fix, it feels. In that space of not knowing, not fixing, true connection could finally breathe. This is supported by research on empathy. True empathetic connection activates different neural networks than problem solving. It involves mirror neurons, the insula, and the anterior cingulate cortex, regions associated with feeling with someone, not thinking for them. This is not to vilify the mind. We need the chisel. But we must know its purpose and its limits. The mind is a wonderful servant for navigating the external world, building a career, managing a project, learning a skill. But it is a terrible master for navigating the internal world of peace, love, and presence. For that, we need a different faculty, awareness. Awareness is the carpenter who holds the chisel. It is the space in which all tools, thoughts, emotions, sensations, arise and are used appropriately, or set down when not needed. The practice of mindfulness is simply the practice of strengthening this carpenter, this aware presence, so it is no longer hypnotized by the chisel's constant activity. When you begin to put the chisel down more often, when you walk the winding path, you start to notice the subtle ways life supports you. You enter a state that psychologists like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi have called flow, and what others might call grace, or synchronicity. It's the feeling of being carried by an unseen current. I have a friend, a marine biologist named Alara, who studies ocean currents. She told me a story that changed how I see effort. She was tracking a specific type of sea turtle hatchling on its first, perilous journey from a Florida beach to the Sargasso Sea. These tiny creatures, no bigger than a palm, must travel hundreds of miles through predator-filled waters. Scientists long believed it was a frantic, desperate swim, powered solely by frantic flipper strokes. But by attaching tiny, sensitive trackers, they discovered something astonishing. The hatchlings did not swim in a frantic, straight line. They would swim actively for bursts, but then they would stop. They would tuck their flippers in and simply float. And during these periods of stillness, they were caught by powerful, deep-sea currents, highways in the ocean that flow with purpose and direction. These currents, invisible from the surface, would carry the turtles for miles with no effort on their part. Their journey was a dance. Periods of directed, calm effort, followed by periods of complete surrender to a force greater than themselves. Their active swimming was just to get them to the current. Once in it, they rested, and the ocean did the work. Our striving is like the hatchling's frantic swimming. We wear ourselves out trying to push through the surface waves, unaware of the supportive depths beneath us. The practice of trust is learning to recognize those currents. It's doing your part. Making the phone call, writing the page, offering the kindness, and then, consciously, letting go. Tucking in your flippers. Floating. Allowing the larger intelligence of life, the confluence of timing, the kindness of strangers, the unexpected opportunities, to carry you for a while. In the business world, this is often the difference between relentless, anxious hustle and strategic, leveraged action. One burns out, the other finds flow. These currents often appear as synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences that feel too apt to be random. The book that falls off the shelf with the exact answer you needed. The friend who calls just as you were thinking of them. The job opportunity that appears just as another door closes. The controlling mind dismisses these as luck or tries to claim credit. My visualization worked. But the open heart sees them as whispers from the current. It's life saying, I see you. You're on the right path. Relax. Carl Jung, who coined the term synchronicity, defined it as an a-causal connecting principle, a meaningful pattern that arises from the interconnectedness of the psyche and the physical world, not from linear cause and effect. It is the universe expressing itself in poetry, not prose. I experienced a profound synchronicity years ago when I was utterly lost, both figuratively and literally. I had taken a solo trip to the Scottish Highlands, hoping solitude would clarify a difficult career decision. One misty morning, I went for a hike on a poorly marked trail and, predictably, got turned around. The fog thickened. Panic, that old friend, began to rise. My mind chisel started whirring. Check the useless map. Remember the landmarks. This is a disaster. I was the frantic hatchling. Exhausted, I finally just sat down on a damp rock. I gave up. I surrendered to being lost. I stopped fighting the fog and just listened to it, felt its cool kiss on my skin. In that quiet, I heard a faint, melodic clinking. I followed the sound through the heather and found an old man, a crofter, mending a stone wall. He didn't seem surprised to see me. The Moor took you for a wander, did she? He said. He offered me tea from a thermos. We sat in silence for a long time, watching the fog shred and reform over the glen. Eventually, without me asking a single question about my life, he said, my father built this wall. I maintain it. My son, he's in Glasgow, makes software. Seems a different world. But the wall still stands. The fog still comes. The land doesn't care what we call ourselves. He tapped a stone into place. You can spend your life building walls to keep the fog out, or you can learn that the fog is part of the view. It makes the green seem greener when it lifts. His words weren't advice. They weren't a solution to my career dilemma. They were a stone tapped into place in the wall of my understanding. In that moment, The fog in my life, the confusion, the uncertainty, didn't feel like an enemy anymore. It was just part of the landscape. The current had carried a lost swimmer to exactly the right teacher. I found my way back not by frantic map reading, but by following a stream downhill, a method the crofter suggested with a shrug. The solution was simple, obvious, and had been there all along, obscured by my panic. The synchronicity was perfect. Lost in a fog of indecision, I was found by a man whose wisdom was about making peace with the fog. So, if we are not to be tyrannized by the thinking mind, where do we turn for guidance? We turn to a wiser, older, and often ignored intelligence, the intelligence of the body. The body is your direct, unfiltered connection to the present moment. It is your compass in the unseen current. The mind speaks in stories. This is good. That is bad. This means I'm a failure. That means I'll be safe. The body speaks in sensations: tightness, warmth, fluttering, heaviness, ease, contraction, expansion. These sensations are the raw data of your experience, before the mind's commentary gets hold of it. A tightening in the chest isn't inherently anxiety, it's just a sensation of tightness. The mind then labels it anxiety, and spins a story about why you're anxious and what might happen. The story is the suffering. The sensation is just a weather pattern in the body, coming and going. Renowned trauma expert Dr. Peter Levine, founder of somatic experiencing, posits that trauma is not the event itself, but the overwhelming energy of the event that gets locked in the body when the natural fight/flight/freeze response cannot complete. Healing, therefore, happens not by retelling the story, but by gently releasing that bound physical energy through bodily awareness. The body holds the key, not the narrative. I learned this from a somatic therapist after a period of intense burnout. I was a master of mental narratives about my stress, but completely disconnected from how it lived in my flesh. She had me do a simple exercise. She asked me to close my eyes and say, "I am stressed." I did. It was a thought, familiar and hollow. Then she said, "Now, don't say anything. Just feel. Where in your body do you feel the word stress?" It took a minute. Then I noticed it, a hard, cold knot of tension right between my shoulder blades. It felt like a clenched fist of marble. "Good," she said softly. "Now, just keep your attention there. Don't try to change it. Don't call it stress. Just feel the shape of it. The temperature. The texture. Is it sharp or dull? Does it have edges?" As I did this, something miraculous happened. The story about stress, the reasons, the worries, the catastrophes, faded into the background. All that existed was this fascinating, intricate sensation in my back. And as I paid attention to it with curiosity, not judgment, it began to change on its own. The marble fist softened, warmed slightly, loosened its grip. It didn't disappear, but it was no longer a terrifying enemy. It was just a sensation, passing through. The emotional charge was gone. The body, when listened to with awareness, knows how to process and release. It has its own wisdom, its own rhythm of healing. We just have to stop overriding it with our mental panic. This is the basis of many body-based therapies like focusing, developed by Eugene Gendlin, which involves listening to the body's felt sense for implicit, nonverbal knowing. This is your compass. In any moment of confusion, of crossroad, you can drop out of your head and into your body. Take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. And ask, not, what should I do, but what does this feel like? Imagine one path, one choice. Notice the bodily sensations. Does it create a sense of expansion, lightness, opening in the chest? Or does it create contraction, tightening in the gut, a holding of the breath? The body's response is often a truer guide than the mind's pros and cons list. The mind can rationalize anything. The body's intelligence is pre-verbal, honest, and aligned with your deepest well-being. This is what some call somatic marking, the body's intuitive, felt response that guides decision-making before conscious logic kicks in. Cultures have known this for millennia. The Polynesian navigators who crossed thousands of miles of open ocean in canoes without instruments didn't just use stars. They learned to read the swells of the ocean with their bodies, feeling the subtle patterns through the hull of the boat. They watched the flight of birds, felt the shift of winds on their skin, tasted the salinity of the water. Their entire being was the instrument. They weren't controlling the Pacific, they were in an intimate, sensuous conversation with it. They trusted the intelligence of their embodied perception more than any map. We must relearn this. Your next right step is not always in a plan, it's often in a feeling. A felt sense of yes or no, a tightening or a release. The great poet John O'Donohue spoke of this, saying the body is the crucible where your life is shaped, the anvil where your destiny is hammered out. It is not a vehicle for your head, it is the ground of your knowing. Some of life's most profound gifts arrive not through the door of achievement, but through the window of the unplanned, the disrupted, the failed. Several years ago, I was on a pilgrimage of sorts, traveling to a famous, ancient monastery in the Himalayas. It was a goal I had held for a decade. I had the route meticulously planned, permits in order, gear tested. I was going to find wisdom at the summit, literally and metaphorically. 2 days into the trek, I developed a severe blister that became infected. I could barely walk. My dream was crumbling. I was forced to stop in a tiny, nameless village not on any tourist map, a place that was just a cluster of stone houses clinging to the mountainside. Furious and despondent, I sat outside a rudimentary tea shack for 2 days, watching the villagers live. I saw an old woman spinning wool with a drop spindle, her fingers moving with unconscious grace. I saw children playing a complex game with pebbles, their laughter echoing off the cliffs. I saw men returning from high pastures, their faces calm and weathered. No one was in a hurry. No one seemed concerned with achieving anything beyond the day's simple tasks. On the third day, frustrated with my self-pity, I limped over to the old woman spinning wool. Through gestures and broken phrases, I asked if I could try. She smiled and handed me the spindle. It was a disaster. The wool tangled, the spindle fell. She laughed, not mockingly, but with pure delight at the clumsiness of this outsider. She took it back and showed me again, her movements slow, patient, rooted in a rhythm that seemed as old as the mountains. As I watched her, something in me broke open. I had come to the Himalayas to find a teacher in a remote monastery, to receive profound teachings. And here was my teacher, in a place I never meant to be, offering a lesson my mind would have deemed insignificant, the lesson of rhythmic, patient, present moment action. The lesson that wisdom isn't always in grand pronouncements, sometimes it's in the twist of wool between fingers, the evenness of breath, the acceptance of an interrupted plan. The blister wasn't an obstacle to my goal, it was the precise mechanism that delivered me to my real lesson. I never made it to the famous monastery. I spent a week in that village, my body healing, my spirit healing faster. I learned to spin crude, lumpy yarn. I drank endless cups of butter tea. I listened to stories I didn't understand a word of, but felt the melody of. When I left, the old woman pressed a small ball of my lumpy yarn into my hand. It sits on my desk to this day. It is a more powerful teaching than any scripture I could have found in the library of my intended destination. It reminds me that the goal is often a decoy. The treasure is almost always found in the detour, in the breakdown, in the forced pause where your grand plan falls apart, and real life, simple, immediate, and profound, rushes in to fill the space. This is what the Zen tradition might call great doubt, great awakening. The complete collapse of your planned path, great doubt creates the empty space where true seeing, great awakening can occur. At the heart of our striving is a ghost, the ghost of not enough. Not good enough, secure enough, loved enough, successful enough. We live in an economy of more, and we have internalized it as a spirituality of lack. We believe we must constantly become more to finally be enough. But what if you are already enough? Not in a future state of perfection, but right now, in this breath, with all your flaws and wonders. The practice of enough is the radical act of calling off the search. There's a beautiful concept in the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi. The celebration of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A wabi-sabi bowl is prized for its cracks, its irregularities, its evidence of the maker's hand and the passage of time. The cracks are filled with gold lacquer, not hidden, but highlighted. They are called kintsugi, golden joinery. The breakage is not a reason to discard the bowl, it is seen as a unique event in its history, to be honored and adorned. The bowl becomes more beautiful, more valuable, for having been broken and repaired. You are a kintsugi bowl. Your scars, your failures, your quirks, your not enough parts, these are not flaws to be hidden in your desperate quest to become a perfect, uncracked vessel. They are the very sites where your unique light can shine through. They are where the gold of your experience, your resilience, your humanity, can be seen. The practice of enough is the practice of applying the gold lacquer of loving awareness to your own cracks, instead of constantly trying to pretend they aren't there, or desperately trying to acquire a new, uncracked bowl. Psychologist Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion is the scientific corollary to this art. It involves treating yourself with the same kindness you would a friend, recognizing your suffering as part of the shared human experience, and holding your feelings in mindful awareness rather than over-identifying with them. This is the process of kintsugi for the psyche. I did a personal experiment with this. For 1 month, I banned the phrase, "I'll be happy when," from my internal dialogue. Every time I caught myself projecting my peace into a future condition, I would stop and find one thing in that exact moment that was enough. The weight of the blanket. The taste of water. The sound of a single bird. It felt ridiculous at first, trivial. But over time, it began to rewire a deep-seated habit. I wasn't practicing gratitude for big things. I was practicing the recognition of sufficiency in the smallest atoms of my experience. One rainy Tuesday, stuck in traffic, late for a meeting, the old panic began to rise. Then I remembered the practice. I'll be happy when I get out of this traffic. No. Stop. What is enough, right now? The rhythm of the wipers. The pattern of rain on the windshield. The warmth of the car's heater on my hands. The simple fact of being alive, breathing. In that moment, the traffic didn't disappear, but my war with it did. The suffering wasn't in the traffic, it was in my belief that the present moment, with its rain and its delay, was not sufficient for peace. When I recognized the sufficiency within the inconvenience lost its power to torture me. This is the ultimate rebellion in a world that sells you the next thing, the next upgrade, the next version of yourself. To sit in the middle of your life, with all its cracks and all its beauty, and softly say, this, too, is enough. From that place of enoughness, action changes. You don't work from a hunger to prove your worth, you work from a fullness that wishes to express itself. You don't love from a need to be completed, you love from a wholeness that wishes to share. The energy is entirely different. One is desperate and draining, the other is generous and renewing. This echoes the work of psychologist Abraham Maslow, who later in his life spoke of being cognition, a state of perceiving the intrinsic worth and wonder of what is, rather than being driven by deficiency cognition, which only sees what is lacking. We are taught that strength is hardness. Resilience is rigidity. To be strong is to be like a mighty oak, unbending in the storm. But the oak, for all its majesty, can be felled by a hurricane. Its strength is also its brittleness. Go to a coastline where mangroves grow. These trees look nothing like the oak. They are often stunted, tangled, growing in salt water where nothing else can. Their roots are exposed, arching out of the water like spidery legs, creating a chaotic, messy web. When a typhoon hits, the mangroves don't resist. They bend, they sway, they let the storm's energy pass through their flexible branches and complex root systems. The roots, instead of gripping the earth tightly in one place, spread out, intertwine with their neighbors, creating a vast, collaborative net that holds the entire shoreline together. Their strength is in their softness, their adaptability, their interconnectedness. This is the courage of softness. It takes far more courage to bend than to stand rigid, pretending you're not afraid. It takes more strength to say, I don't know, than to cling to a brittle certainty. It takes more resilience to allow yourself to feel grief, fear, or disappointment fully, and let it move through you, than to build a wall against it that will eventually crack. We see this in the natural process of trauma release in animals. A gazelle, after a narrow escape from a predator, will not go home and worry about it for weeks. It will physically tremble and shake, a full-body discharge of the intense survival energy, and then return to grazing, present and calm. The body's wisdom is to process and release, not to store and analyze. Our minds override this. We get cut off in traffic, and instead of a quick burst of adrenaline and a shout, we carry the tension in our shoulders for hours, replay the story, and let it poison our day. We are rigid where we could be soft. We are storing storms instead of letting them pass through. This stored energy becomes what somatic therapists call armoring, chronic muscular tension that acts as a suit of psychological armor, cutting us off from both pain and pleasure, from threat and joy. To practice softness is to become like the mangrove. When the storm of anger rises, instead of hardening into it or repressing it, you feel it in your body. You let the energy move, maybe through a tense jaw, hot cheeks, quick breath. You don't act from it, but you don't deny it. You let it be, and you breathe, creating space around the sensation. The storm of fear, of anxiety, same process. You don't fight it with positive thinking. You create a soft, aware space within which it can exist, and in that space, it naturally loses its destructive power and begins to dissipate. This is the core of mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, to turn toward discomfort with curiosity, which changes your relationship to it. The physicist David Bohm spoke of this in terms of proprioception of thought, the ability to feel the movement of your own thinking and emotion in the moment, just as you feel the position of your limbs. This internal proprioception is the root of softness. This softness extends to your self-talk. The rigid mind is brutally judgmental. You idiot. You failed again. You'll never get it right. The soft mind is like the mangrove root, offering support even in the turbulent water. It says, "This is hard. I'm afraid. It's okay. I'm here with you." This isn't passive, it's the most active form of courage. It's the courage to stay present with your own experience, without an enemy to fight or a fortress to hide in. The writer and researcher Brené Brown calls this shame resilience, the ability to recognize the painful feeling of "I am bad," and meet it with empathy and understanding, rather than allowing it to fester in isolation. The mangrove does not grow alone. Its resilience is in the network. Our softness is fortified by an inner network of self-compassion. Now, all of this, the winding path, the silent partner, the body's compass, the practice of enough, the courage of softness, leads to a fundamental reweaving of the story of your life. You move from a narrative of control and conquest to one of participation and wonder. The old story is a single, taut thread, stretched in a straight line from past to future. Its strength depends on not breaking, not deviating. Your identity is that thread. Any snap, a failure, a loss, feels like the end of you. The new story is a tapestry. You are not just one thread, you are the entire woven field. There are dark threads of sorrow and light threads of joy, rough threads of failure and smooth threads of success. There are threads that were broken and skillfully rewoven, creating a unique pattern. There are threads that came from others, Parents, teachers, friends, even strangers, interlaced with your own. The beauty and the strength lie not in any single thread, but in the complex, interconnected whole. A broken thread doesn't ruin the tapestry, it becomes part of its rich, textured history. Letting go is the act of dropping the old, linear story and relaxing into the tapestry of what already is. It is seeing that you are not just the climber on the mountain. You are also the mountain, the path, the fog, the crofter, the clumsy yarn. You are not just the potter, you are the clay, the wheel, the intelligence of form, the empty space where creation happens. This shift in identity, from a separate, fragile self to an interconnected, participatory process, is at the heart of many wisdom traditions. In systems theory, it's moving from seeing yourself as a discrete node to understanding you are part of a dynamic network. Your actions ripple, and ripples from the entire network shape you. A final, original story. An elderly woman in my neighborhood, Ms. Alma, had the most magnificent garden on the street. It wasn't manicured or planned. It was a glorious, chaotic explosion of color, sunflowers towering over marigolds, roses tangling with beans, herbs spilling onto the path. Kids called it the jungle garden. One afternoon, I found her sitting on her porch, just looking at it. "It's so alive," I said. "How do you decide what to plant where?" She chuckled. "Oh, I don't decide much anymore. I used to. Had charts and diagrams. Everything in its row. Then one year, a squirrel buried a walnut, and an oak sapling came up right in the middle of my zucchini. I was going to pull it. But it looked so determined. So I let it be. The next year, birds dropped sunflower seeds from the feeder. They grew. The wind brought milkweed for the butterflies. Now," she said, sweeping a hand over the glorious mess, "I just put seeds in the ground that I love, and I pull the weeds that choke. The rest. I let the garden have its say. It's smarter than I am. It knows what wants to grow together." Ms. Alma was a master of the tapestry. She provided the foundational care, the soil, the water, the removal of true threats. But she had let go of the need to control the final picture. She collaborated with squirrels, birds, wind, and the innate intelligence of the plants themselves. The result was not a neat, controllable plot, but a thriving, resilient, breathtaking ecosystem. It was more beautiful precisely because it wasn't entirely under her control. Her garden was a permaculture of the soul, working with natural processes rather than against them. Your life is that garden. You can spend your energy on charts and diagrams, fighting squirrels and pulling up oak saplings, trying to force everything into straight rows. Or you can do the foundational work of self-care, plant seeds of kindness, pull the weeds of toxic habits, and then, with a smile, let the wind and the birds and the unseen intelligence of life have their say. Trust that what grows together in the chaotic, interwoven beauty of your experience is wiser than any solitary plan you could have drawn. This requires a deep trust in what biologist Rupert Sheldrake might call the morphic field of your own life, the invisible patterns and habits that shape its growth, which are influenced by your past but not rigidly determined by it. Your gentle, attentive presence is the sunlight and water that allows the most authentic pattern to emerge. Let's explore a concept that lives at the intersection of effort and ease: pace. Your natural pace is not something you invent. It's something you discover by removing what obstructs it. We live in a world that venerates speed. Faster internet, faster cars, faster results, faster enlightenment. This constant external tempo creates an internal dissonance, a feeling that you are always behind, that your natural rhythm is somehow wrong. But your body, your nervous system, your creative spirit, they each have their own innate, optimal tempo. Trying to live at someone else's speed is a profound form of self-betrayal, a chronic ignoring of your own internal signals. I learned about pace not from a guru, but from a long-distance trail runner named Maya. She specialized in ultramarathons, races of 50 or 100 miles over mountainous terrain. I asked her once, "What's the most important skill? Endurance? Mental toughness?" She thought for a moment. "It's listening to your body's whispers so you never have to hear its screams. It's finding the pace you can hold forever. In an ultra, if you start at a sprint, you're finished in 10 miles. The winners are often not the fastest starters, but the most consistent listeners. They have a conversation with their breath, their legs, the incline. They adjust not by the clock, but by feel. Their pace is an intimate dialogue with the terrain and their own capacity, moment by moment." She described it as moving meditation. The goal wasn't to beat the mountain or the other runners, it was to maintain a harmonious relationship with the entire system, body, trail, weather, for the long haul. Victory was an alignment, not a conquest. Your life is an ultramarathon, not a sprint. The frantic, controlling mind is the sprinter. It bursts forth with explosive effort, fueled by adrenaline and ambition, but it cannot sustain itself. It burns out, gets injured, becomes demoralized. The wise mind is the ultrarunner. It seeks the sustainable pace. It knows that the journey is long and that consistency trumps intensity. This sustainable pace is your Wu Wei in motion, action that doesn't deplete, effort that feels like flow. It's the speed at which you can move through your day, your work, your relationships, without feeling like you're running a race against an invisible clock. How do you find it? You start by slowing down enough to hear the whispers. The whisper of fatigue that says, "Rest." The whisper of inspiration that says, "Now." The whisper of resistance that says, "This path is wrong." When you ignore whispers, they become screams: burnout, illness, crisis. The practice of finding your pace is the practice of exquisite, gentle listening. This has a physiological basis in our nervous system. We have two primary modes, the sympathetic, fight or flight, for action and stress, and the parasympathetic, rest and digest, for recovery and integration. Modern life keeps many of us in a chronic low-grade sympathetic state, the sprint mode. Finding your natural pace involves consciously activating the parasympathetic system through breath, rest, and non-striving activity, creating a rhythmic oscillation between engaged action and restorative ease. It's not about being lazy, it's about being intelligent with your energy, like the ultrarunner who walks the steep hills to run the flats. Consider the traditional craftspeople of Scandinavia, who practice what is called *arbeidsglade*, a word meaning happiness at work. It doesn't come from frantic productivity, but from a deep engagement in a process done well, at its own necessary speed. A woodcarver does not rush the chisel. A knitter does not yank the yarn. There is a pace inherent to the material and the tool, and mastery lies in marrying your own rhythm to that external one. When you force it, you break the wood or tangle the wool. When you align, you create something of beauty and integrity. Your life is your primary craft. What is the inherent pace of your relationships? Of your learning? Of your healing? Rushing any of these processes doesn't make them happen faster, it makes them brittle, shallow, or incomplete. I experienced the tyranny of the wrong pace when I first tried to learn a musical instrument as an adult. I bought a guitar, fueled by visions of quick mastery. I set aggressive practice schedules. I pushed through frustration, my fingers cramping, the chords sounding terrible. I was sprinting. And I hated it. I was about to give up when I met a retired flamenco guitarist. I confessed my failure. He picked up my guitar, tuned it slowly, and played a single, simple progression. It sounded alive. "You are trying to conquer the guitar," he said. "You must chord it. Come to it not with a schedule, but with curiosity. Play one note and listen to it fade. Find the space between the notes. Let your fingers learn the shape of a chord without needing to move to the next one for 5 minutes. The music is not in the speed, it is in the relationship between sound and silence." He was teaching me pace. I put away the schedule. Some days I just held the guitar. Some days I practiced one transition for 10 minutes. The progress felt infinitesimally slow, but it was real. And more importantly, it was joyful. I was no longer at war with the instrument, I was in a slow, patient dialogue with it. The sustainable pace created sustainability of interest, of pleasure, of growth. This principle applies to difficult emotions as well. When grief or anxiety arises, the controlling mind wants to either sprint away from it, distraction, numbness, or sprint through it, fix it, analyze it, get over it. Both are paces of violence against your own experience. The natural pace of emotional processing is slower, more meandering. It's the pace of a walk in the woods, not a drive on the freeway. It allows for pauses, for sitting on a log and crying, for moments of unexpected calm amidst the storm. To honor this pace is to treat your inner world with the same respect a traditional craftsperson shows their material. You don't yank the grief. You work with it at the pace it demands, and in doing so, you allow it to transform into something integrated, something that becomes part of your strength, your depth, your tapestry. Finding your natural pace is an act of profound self-trust. It is saying, "I will not let the world's metronome set my rhythm. I will listen for my own pulse, my own breath, the quiet tempo of my own being." It is in that authentic rhythm that you find not only endurance, but a deep and lasting satisfaction. The river does not rush to the ocean. It moves at the pace gravity and terrain allow, and in that pace, it sculpts canyons and nourishes valleys. You are that river. Trust your pace. We've spoken of letting go, of surrender, of pace. But what do we do with the energy that's freed up? Where does our focus go when it's no longer consumed by controlling? This brings us to one of the most potent and practical principles. Your attention is not just a passive observer. It is a creative force. What you consistently place your attention on neurologically strengthens, emotionally amplifies, and perceptually expands. The controlling mind has a negativity bias. It's wired to scan for threats, for problems, for what's missing. In doing so, it waters the weeds of anxiety and lack. The art of peaceful living involves consciously redirecting that attention, not through forced positivity, but through curious, gentle engagement with what is already whole, already here, already enough. Think of your mind as a garden. Awareness is the sun, it shines on everything impartially. But attention is the water. Where you direct the water determines what grows. If you spend your days pouring the water of your attention onto rocks of regret, I should have. Thorns of worry, what if, and barren soil of comparison, they have, your inner landscape becomes parched and hostile. But if you gently water the seeds of gratitude, the sprouts of present moment sensation, the flowers of simple beauty, that landscape flourishes. This isn't denial. You see the rocks and thorns, the sun of awareness illuminates them, but you choose not to water them. You acknowledge their presence, but you don't build your home there. There is a fascinating concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you follow a worried thought down its rabbit hole, you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you pause to feel the warmth of a mug in your hands, you strengthen that pathway. Your repeated focus literally sculpts your brain. The practice, then, is to become a conscious gardener of your own neurology. When you find yourself ruminating, you can gently say, I'm watering the weeds again, and without self-judgment, shift your attention to the feeling of your breath, or the sounds around you. This is not running away, it is consciously choosing to cultivate a different, more nourishing landscape. I saw this alchemy in action in a most unexpected setting, a hospice. I volunteered for a time, and there was a patient named Eleanor, a woman in her final weeks. The room was quiet, medical. But Eleanor had a practice. Every day, she would ask her visitor or nurse to describe one beautiful thing they saw on their way in. A child's laugh from a window. The pattern of rust on a drain pipe. The way light hit a puddle. She would listen, her eyes closed, a soft smile on her face. Then she would share her own from the window, the slow journey of a cloud, the dance of a leaf on a branch, the changing color of the sky. In a place of undeniable loss and limitation, Eleanor was an alchemist of attention. She was pouring the precious water of her focus onto moments of ephemeral beauty. She wasn't denying her reality, she was choosing which aspect of reality to engage with most deeply. The atmosphere in her room was not one of despair, but of a profound, quiet richness. She was teaching everyone who entered that peace is not determined by the size of your world, but by the depth of your attention to it. This practice has a measurable effect. Studies on gratitude journaling, for instance, show that consistently directing attention to things one is thankful for can significantly increase well-being and decrease symptoms of depression. It's not that the problems disappear. It's that the brain's habitual pathways of scanning for lack begin to rewire towards scanning for sufficiency. You start to see evidence for the world you attend to. So, how do we practice this gentle redirection? It begins with noticing where your attention is. Just notice. My attention is locked on that stressful email. No judgment. The moment of noticing is the moment of freedom. It means you are no longer fully identified with the thought, you are the awareness that sees it. From that space, you have a choice. You can, with great gentleness, invite your attention to something sensory and immediate. Feel your feet on the floor. Listen to the most distant sound you can hear. Feel the air moving in and out of your nostrils. This isn't a dramatic shift. It's a subtle, kind redirecting of the water. You're not trying to blast the thought away, you're simply giving your attention another, more nourishing place to rest for a moment. You can apply this to relationships. During a conversation, instead of your attention being on crafting your next brilliant point, an attempt to control the interaction, see if you can pour the full water of your attention onto simply listening. Listen to the words, the timbre of the voice, the pauses, the emotion behind the words. When you do this, the conversation stops being a transactional exchange and becomes a shared field of experience. Connection flowers. This is what the philosopher Martin Buber called an I-thou encounter, where you meet the other in their full presence, rather than an I-it encounter where you manage or categorize them. The alchemy of attention transforms mundane tasks. Washing dishes, often seen as a chore, can become a practice in sensory richness if you place your attention on the warmth of the water, the slipperiness of the soap, the sound of the clink, the play of light on the bubbles. The task doesn't change, but your experience of it is utterly transfigured from burden to meditation. The monk Thich Nhat Hanh famously said, "There are two ways to wash the dishes. The first is to wash the dishes in order to have clean dishes. The second is to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes." The first is goal-oriented, rushing toward a future where the task is over. The second is an act of full attention, where the washing itself is the point, the place of life. Finally, attend to silence. In the spaces between thoughts, between sounds, there is a fertile emptiness. Most of us rush to fill it, with music, with podcasts, with mental chatter. But what if you placed your attention on the silence itself? Not as an absence, but as a presence. A field of potential. In that silent attention, the noise of the controlling mind settles, and a deeper kind of intelligence, intuitive, peaceful, whole, can make itself known. This is the ultimate alchemy. Using your attention to discover the aware space that holds attention itself. You realize you are not just the gardener, you are also the sun, the soil, and the entire ecosystem. From that realization, action becomes an expression of wholeness, not a search for it. The poet Rumi wrote, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all." This is perhaps the most radical application of non-control, not just managing your attention, but opening the very doors of your heart to every experience, without exception. The controlling mind is a strict bouncer at the door of your awareness. It has a list: joy is allowed, sadness is not. Calm is welcome, anxiety is turned away. It judges each guest by its appearance, labeling some good and others bad, and in doing so, it creates a civil war within the guest house itself. The rejected guests don't leave, they pound on the door, they shout through the windows, they become disruptive squatters in your basement. Peace is impossible when you are at war with your own inhabitants. What if you fired the bouncer? What if you became a gracious host to every thought, every emotion, every sensation that arrives? This doesn't mean you agree with or act on every impulse. A gracious host doesn't let a rowdy guest break the furniture. They simply offer them a seat and a cup of tea, acknowledging their presence without being overthrown by it. Hosting your fear doesn't mean letting it make all your decisions. It means saying, "Ah, fear, I see you've arrived. You can sit here. I feel you're trembling. But I am still the host of this house." This simple shift from resistance to hospitality changes everything. I learned this not in meditation, but in wilderness survival training. Our instructor taught us about hypothermia. The initial symptom, he said, is not shivering, that comes later. The first symptom is a subtle, insidious thing, poor judgment. A fogging of the mind, a loss of fine motor skills, a bizarre sense of apathy or even euphoria. The body is beginning to shut down non-essential functions to preserve core heat, and the brain is on that list. Your mind, he said, is the first thing to go when you get truly cold. You cannot rely on it to save you. You must rely on your systems, your prepared actions, and your ability to listen to your body's deeper signals. He then taught us a counterintuitive practice for when you first feel the cold seeping in: welcome it. Don't tense up and fight it, which wastes energy and constricts blood flow. Instead, consciously relax your muscles, breathe deeply, and say to yourself, "I am cold." This is the sensation of cold. By welcoming the sensation, you stay connected to the reality of your situation without panicking. You conserve energy. You remain present enough to take intelligent action, gather wood, build a shelter, put on a layer. Fighting the cold is the beginning of losing to it. Welcoming it is the first step in managing it skillfully. Your unwelcome emotional guests are like that cold. Fear, anger, shame, they are energies that arrive, often for good reason. When you fight them, when you say, "I shouldn't feel this way," you create a secondary layer of suffering, the tension of resistance, on top of the original pain. You waste precious energy. You fog your own judgment. But when you welcome them, this is the sensation of fear. It feels like tightening in my chest. It's here. You do 3 powerful things. First, you create a space of awareness around the emotion, so you are no longer fully identified with it. You are the host observing the guest. Second, you conserve energy by dropping the exhausting struggle of rejection. Third, you remain present and clear enough to respond to the emotion's message wisely, rather than react from its chaos. Let's take anxiety as a guest. The controlling mind strategy is to bar the door. No. Go away. You're bad. This leads to suppression, distraction, or frantic attempts to fix the source of anxiety, often making things worse. The hosting strategy is to open the door. Hello, anxiety. I feel your jittery energy. Come in. Sit down. What are you trying to tell me? Often, anxiety is a messenger shouting about a perceived threat. By listening to it, not obeying it, but listening, you might discover it's pointing to a real need, prepare for a presentation, have a difficult conversation, or a false alarm based on an old story. Once you've heard the message, the frantic energy of the messenger often diminishes. You can then thank anxiety for its message and proceed with clarity, rather than being hijacked by its panic. This practice is deeply rooted in modern therapeutic modalities. In acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, it's called cognitive diffusion, learning to see thoughts and feelings as passing events in the mind, not as directives or truths that must be obeyed. In dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, it's part of radical acceptance, completely accepting reality as it is in the moment, which is the prerequisite for changing it effectively. You must first host the reality of your present pain before you can transform it. I practiced this with a deep-seated guest, grief. After a significant loss, I tried all the controlling strategies. I tried to outthink it, to stay busy, to look on the bright side. The grief just grew heavier, a leaden guest lurking in every room. Finally, exhausted, I gave up. One afternoon, I simply sat on the floor and said, "Okay. You're here. I give up." I let the waves of sadness come. I didn't try to stop them or even understand them. I just let them move through me, like weather. I hosted the tears, the aching hollow in my chest, the memories that felt like physical blows. And a strange thing happened. The grief didn't disappear, but its relationship to me changed. It was no longer a monster hiding in the closet. It was a sad, profound visitor sitting with me in the living room of my heart. In hosting it fully, I stopped being its victim and became its companion. The energy of struggle vanished, leaving only the pure, sad truth of loss. And in that truth, there was a kind of peace. Not happiness, but a deep, quiet dignity. The guest house was intact. The host was still present, wounded but whole. This is the ultimate fear of the controlling mind. That if we welcome the bad guests, they will take over and destroy us. But the opposite is true. It is the resistance that gives them destructive power. A welcomed guest, acknowledged and given space, eventually completes their visit and leaves. Or, sometimes, they move in, but as a quiet boarder who no longer disturbs the peace. Your joy becomes more vivid because it is not threatened by the occasional presence of sorrow. Your courage becomes more solid because it is not pretending fear doesn't exist. Your heart becomes unshakably resilient because it has made room for everything. It has become a true guest house, a sanctuary for the full human experience. And in that sanctuary, you discover you are not any single guest, you are the boundless space that holds them all. You are the welcoming host, and ultimately, you are the home itself. All our striving, our controlling, our grasping. It springs from a single, deep-seated assumption that there is a permanent, separate me here that needs to be protected, improved, and satisfied. This I feels solid. It has a name, a history, a collection of opinions and desires. It feels like the captain of the ship, the thinker of thoughts, the feeler of feelings. But what if this I is not what it seems? What if it is more of a process, a verb, a story constantly being told, rather than a fixed noun? The relentless effort to control life is the effort of this imagined separate self to secure its own borders, to ensure its survival and superiority. To see through this illusion is perhaps the most liberating insight on the path of peace. Let's conduct a simple inquiry. Right now, ask yourself, what am I? Your mind might offer answers. I am a man/woman/person. I am a teacher/artist/student. I am tired/happy/curious. Notice that every answer is a thought, a label, a temporary state. Can you find a solid, unchanging thing that is the I behind all these changing experiences? When you look for the thinker of your thoughts, you only find more thoughts. When you look for the feeler of your feelings, you only find sensations arising and passing. The British philosopher Alan Watts used the analogy of a flame. A flame appears to be a distinct, persistent thing. But it is actually a process, a constant flow of gas being converted to light and heat. It has no permanent substance. The I is like that flame, a brilliant, dancing process of awareness, sensation, thought, and memory, creating the convincing illusion of continuity. This isn't just philosophy, it's supported by neuroscience. There is no single, self-center, in the brain. What we experience as a unified self is a narrative created by a network of brain regions, the default mode network, DMN, which integrates memories, projects into the future, and maintains our autobiographical story. This is useful for functioning, but we mistakenly identify with the story. Meditation and practices of self-inquiry have been shown to reduce activity in the DMN, correlating with the felt sense of ego dissolution and interconnectedness. I had a glimpse of this during a silent retreat. After days of quiet, the constant mental narration of, I like this, I don't like that, I remember, I plan, began to feel less like reality and more like a radio playing in another room. One afternoon, walking slowly, I was watching a line of ants cross the path. There was just the seeing. The label ant arose, but it was thin, transparent. Then the thought, I am watching ants. But where was this I? It was just another thought appearing in the field of awareness. In that moment, the boundary dissolved. There was just the seeing, the movement, the sunlight, the sound of wind in the trees. All happening in one seamless, vibrant field. The sense of a separate observer in here, watching a world out there, vanished. There was only the experiencing. It was terrifying for a split second. The I gasped at its own disappearance, and then it was profoundly peaceful. The weight of being a separate entity with a huge list of problems to manage was gone. There was just life, living itself. Of course, the functional, narrative self returned. It's necessary to cross the street and have a conversation, but it returned humbled, seen for what it was, a useful tool, not the master of the house. Why does this matter for daily peace? Because virtually all of our suffering is built on the foundation of this separate self. Its fear of annihilation drives anxiety. Its need to be special drives comparison and envy. Its desire to protect its story drives defensiveness and resentment. When you see that this self is a fluid, constructed process, its demands lose their ultimate authority. You can care for its concerns. The body needs food, the mind needs stimulation, without being enslaved by its dramas. You stop taking everything so personally because you see that most reactions, in yourself and others, are the automatic firing of a self-protection program, not the ultimate truth. Think of it like being in a movie theater, completely absorbed in the film. If the hero is in danger, your heart races. If they are betrayed, you feel anger. You are identified with the character's separate journey. Now imagine you could, while still watching, also be aware of the projector light behind you, the screen in front, and the comfortable seat you're sitting in. You'd still follow the story, but you'd know, fundamentally, that you are safe in the seat, not in peril on the screen. Seeing the illusory nature of the separate self is like becoming aware of the projector, the screen, and the seat all at once. The movie of my life continues, with its joys and challenges, but you are no longer trapped in it. You are the spacious awareness in which the entire movie plays. This understanding transforms relationships. When someone criticizes you, you can see it as criticism of a character in a story, a collection of habits and patterns. It doesn't have to threaten the core of what you are, which is awareness itself. This allows for non-defensive listening and real learning. Similarly, your reactions to others are seen as your own character's programmed responses, giving you the space to choose a different, more compassionate action. It also transforms your relationship with impermanence. The separate self is terrified of endings, the end of youth, of relationships, of life itself. But if you are not merely the temporary character, but the awareness in which the character arises, then endings are seen as changes in the movie, not the end of the watcher. The watcher remains. This is the root of true fearlessness. This doesn't lead to passivity. Paradoxically, it leads to more effective, compassionate action. When action comes not from a small, scared self trying to build its fortress, but from a sense of connected awareness responding to the needs of the moment, it is clearer, kinder, and less burdened by ego. You work for the good of the whole because you feel part of the whole, not because you're trying to earn a medal for your separate self. The practice is simple but profound. In moments of stress, ask, who is suffering? Don't answer conceptually. Look directly. Feel into the sensation of tension, of fear. Where is the solid me that owns it? You'll find a constellation of sensations and thoughts, but no central owner. Rest in that finding. You are not destroying the self, you are seeing its true, empty, luminous nature. And in that seeing, the desperate need to control the universe to protect this fragile I simply relaxes. You are free to participate fully in the dance of life, knowing you are not just a dancer on the stage, but also the stage, the music, and the space in which it all unfolds. In a world that worships action, rest is often seen as laziness, a void to be filled, a necessary evil between bouts of productivity. We even call it recharging, framing it as merely utilitarian, stopping so we can start again with more force. But what if rest is not the opposite of action, but its source? What if in stillness, in true non-doing, a deeper kind of intelligence is at work, one that sorts, integrates, heals, and reveals in ways frantic activity never can? The controlling mind sees rest as wasted time. Awareness understands it as sacred space. Consider the natural world. The field that is constantly planted, season after season, without fallow periods, becomes depleted, barren. It needs time to lie fallow, to let microorganisms work, to let nutrients restore, to simply be. That fallow period is not non-productive, it is the foundation of future abundance. The bear hibernates. The tree loses its leaves and rests in winter. The tide ebbs. These are not failures to produce, they are essential phases of a sustainable, intelligent cycle. Human beings are part of this nature, yet we have created a culture that tries to defy this rhythm. We want perpetual summer, perpetual growth, perpetual output. And we wonder why we feel so depleted, so brittle, so creatively dry. There is hard science behind this. Sleep, the ultimate daily rest, is now understood not as a passive shutdown, but as a period of intense, vital activity. The brain's glymphatic system kicks into high gear, flushing out metabolic toxins that accumulate during waking hours. Memories are consolidated and integrated. Neural connections are pruned and strengthened. Emotional experiences are processed. To skip sleep is not just to be tired. It is to prevent your biological system from performing its essential maintenance. The same principle applies to waking rest. Studies on creativity and insight show that breakthroughs often happen not during focused effort, but during periods of distraction or relaxation, in the shower, on a walk, upon waking. This is called the incubation period. The conscious, effortful mind steps back, and the diffuse, associative networks of the subconscious can make novel connections. Rest is where the puzzle pieces you've gathered are allowed to assemble themselves in new ways. I learned about the intelligence of rest from a master chess player, not in a tournament, but in a park. He was an elderly man who played speed chess with anyone. He moved with astonishing swiftness, yet he never seemed rushed. Between games, while his opponent fumed or celebrated, he would lean back, close his eyes, and take 3 slow breaths. He wasn't checking his phone or analyzing the last game. He was resting. I asked him about it. He said, "The game is not in the moves. The game is in the silence between the moves. That is where you see the board. When you are thinking, you see pieces. When you rest, you see relationships, patterns, possibilities. If you do not clean the mirror of your mind with rest, it becomes clouded with your own thoughts, and you cannot see what is actually there." For him, rest was not a pause in the game, it was the essential mechanism of clear seeing. It was the fallow period that allowed the soil of his perception to stay rich. We can apply this to our inner lives. When you are churning with worry, trying to figure it out, you are like a farmer desperately digging in exhausted soil. The solution is not more digging. It is to put the shovel down. To walk away from the field of your problem. To take a nap, a walk, to stare out a window. In that conscious rest, the subconscious, which is vastly more powerful at pattern recognition and integration, gets to work. Often, you return to find the problem has shifted, a new angle appears, or you realize it wasn't the problem you thought it was. The rest didn't solve it for you, it allowed you to solve it from a place of wholeness, not fragmentation. This requires trusting an intelligence greater than your conscious, controlling mind. It requires faith that when you stop pushing, life continues to move in you and through you. It's like trusting your body to heal a cut. You clean it, maybe bandage it, but then you let it be. You don't stand there constantly prodding it, shouting, "Heal! Heal!" You trust the biological intelligence within your trillions of cells to do their miraculous work. The same intelligence operates in your psyche, your creativity, your emotional life. It works in the dark, in the quiet, in the rest. So, how do we practice intelligent rest? It starts by sanctifying periods of non-doing in your day. Not scrolling, which is a form of mental consumption and agitation, but genuine rest. Sitting with a cup of tea and just looking out the window for 5 minutes. Lying on the floor and feeling your body against the ground. A slow, aimless walk without a podcast in your ears. In these moments, deliberately drop the agenda. Don't try to get relaxed. Simply allow. Let the mind wander without following any thread. Let the senses open without labeling. This is not lazy, it is allowing the fallow period so creativity and clarity can regenerate. Also, practice micro-rests within activity. The chess player's 3 breaths. Before answering an email, take 1 conscious breath. In the middle of a conversation, allow a half-second of silence to settle before responding. These are tiny openings that let the intelligence of rest seep into your doing, preventing action from becoming frantic, reactive striving. Finally, examine your belief that your worth is tied to your output. This is the core driver of restlessness. You are a human being, not a human doing. Your value is intrinsic, not earned by constant production. When you truly digest this, rest loses its guilt and becomes a celebration of your inherent wholeness. You rest not because you have earned it, but because you are worthy of care simply because you exist. From that kind of rest, action springs naturally, joyfully, and effectively, like a clear stream from a deep, wellspring source. You stop exhausting yourself trying to pump water from a dry well, and instead, you learn to tend the spring. The intelligence of rest is the intelligence of the spring itself, always refilling, always nourishing, when given the space and silence to do so. We spend so much of our lives talking, to others, to ourselves, planning, explaining, worrying. We use language to shape reality, to argue, to convince, to control. But what if life is speaking to us in a different language? A language not of words, but of patterns, sensations, synchronicities, and felt meanings. The controlling mind is a monologist, broadcasting its demands. Peace arises when we become fluent listeners in the subtle, poetic language of what is. This language has no grammar book. It is learned through immersion and humility. It is the language of the body's tension or ease. It is the language of a recurring symbol in your dreams. It is the language of the coincidence that feels too meaningful to ignore, the book that falls open to the perfect passage, the stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear. It is the language of a gut feeling, a visceral yes or no that arises before logic can justify it. The controlling mind dismisses this as irrational, unscientific, woo. But some of the greatest scientists were master listeners in this language. Einstein spoke of ideas coming to him not through calculation, but through intuition and feeling. He trusted the hunches, the images, the felt sense of a truth before he could prove it mathematically. I began to learn this language during a period of chronic illness. Doctors, tests, and my own frantic research, the language of control, provided no answers, only more anxiety. Exhausted, I stopped. I had to. In the stillness of forced inactivity, I began to notice things. I noticed that the pain in my gut flared not just after certain foods, but after certain conversations, certain thoughts of resentment or anxiety. My body was speaking a truth my mind had ignored. The inflammation was not just physical, it was emotional, energetic. I noticed that on days I sat quietly in the sun, even for 10 minutes, a deep sense of relief would wash over me that no pill could provide. The sun was speaking a language of healing. I began to keep a journal not of symptoms, but of correlations between inner weather and physical sensation. It wasn't a linear cure, but it was a dialogue. I was learning to listen to the intelligence of my own organism, which was communicating in the language of symptom, energy, and intuition. This listening didn't replace medicine, it informed it, creating a partnership where before there had been a war. This language is how nature communicates. A sailor doesn't control the wind, she reads it. She feels its shift on her cheek, sees its effect on the waves, hears it in the rigging. She listens to the language of the sea and sky, and adjusts her sails accordingly. Her safety depends on this attentive listening, not on shouting commands at the weather. Our lives are the same. The language of life whispers in the form of resistance. When you keep hitting the same wall, when effort feels like pushing a boulder uphill, that's not life being against you. That's life speaking clearly, this way is blocked. There is no opening here. Look elsewhere. The controlling mind interprets this as a challenge to push harder. The listening heart hears it as a redirection. It whispers through joy. That spontaneous lift in your chest when you see a certain landscape, hear a piece of music, engage in a particular activity, that is not random. It is a clue. It's life saying, here. This resonates with something deep in you. Pay attention to this. Following these threads of joy, not as hedonism but as sacred guidance, can lead you to your most authentic path. It speaks through people. The unexpected helper, the challenging critic, the person who irritates you deeply. Each is a messenger bearing a piece of your own puzzle. The irritant often mirrors a disowned part of yourself. The helper often appears when you have finally surrendered and stopped trying to do it all alone. Learning to listen means looking past the surface of the person to the message their presence brings to your life. So, how do we cultivate this listening? First, create silences. You cannot hear a whisper in a hurricane. Carve out moments of wordless quiet. In nature, in meditation, in the early morning, where the internal monologue softens. Second, practice curiosity over judgment. When a strong feeling or strange coincidence occurs, instead of labeling it good/bad or meaningless, get curious. What is this? What does it feel like in my body? What might it be pointing to? Third, keep a synchronicity or intuition journal. Note down the small, inexplicable winks from the universe. Over time, you may see patterns, a style to how life communicates with you. This listening requires surrendering the need for certainty. The language of life is suggestive, symbolic, not declarative. It offers hints, not blueprints. It requires you to take a step in trust based on a feeling, and then listen for the next clue. It's like following a trail of breadcrumbs in a forest, not marching down a paved road with a GPS. This can feel frightening to the controlling mind, which wants guarantees. But the listening heart finds a deeper security in the process itself, in the intimate, conversational relationship with existence. Ultimately, learning this language dissolves the feeling of alienation. You are not a separate entity in a silent, mechanical universe. You are a participant in a constant, intelligent conversation. The wind speaks, your body speaks, chant speaks, your heart speaks. When you learn to listen, you realize you are never alone. Guidance is always available, not in the form of a booming voice from the sky, but in the quiet, persistent language of what is, right here, right now. Your task is not to decipher it perfectly, but to engage with it humbly, to say, I am listening, and then to move with the tenderness and attention of someone who knows they are part of a vast, speaking, alive world. We often think of gratitude as something we do. A practice, a list we make, a feeling we cultivate after we get what we want. We frame it as a response to goodness. But what if gratitude is not a response, but a force? A fundamental orientation, a kind of spiritual gravity that naturally pulls us toward a felt sense of wholeness and connection. The controlling mind lives in the economy of lack, scanning for what's missing, what's wrong, what needs to be fixed or acquired. This orientation creates a perceptual field of scarcity. Gratitude, in its deepest sense, is the shift in orientation that reveals the perceptual field of sufficiency. It's not about ignoring pain, it's about changing the ground upon which you stand while you experience it. Think of gravity. It is not an action you perform, it is a condition you exist within. It constantly pulls everything toward the center of the earth. Gratitude, in this sense, is the inner gravity of the soul. It is the constant, gentle pull back to the center of your being, to the recognition of what is already given, already present, already holding you. When you are caught in the spin of worry and control, you are like an astronaut floating untethered, feeling weightless and disconnected. The practice of gratitude is not adding booster rockets, it is remembering the tether, feeling the gentle, undeniable pull back home to the ground of being. This is supported by the science of neuroception, a term coined by Stephen Porges. It's our nervous system's subconscious process of scanning the environment for safety or danger. When we are in a state of control and lack, our neuroception is threat-oriented. We see the world through a lens of not enough. Gratitude practice has been shown to shift neuroception toward safety. It signals to the ancient parts of our brain, you are okay. Resources are present. You are supported. This isn't Pollyanna-ish, it's physiological. It downregulates the amygdala, the fear center, and engages the prefrontal cortex and vagus nerve, promoting calm and social engagement. Gratitude changes the very filter through which you perceive reality. I experienced this gravitational pull during a trek in a desert canyon. It was day 3, water was rationed, the sun was relentless, and every step was an effort of will. My mind was a chorus of lack. Not enough water, not enough shade, too far to go. I was miserable. Then, at a rest stop, I noticed a tiny, bright green cactus flower pushing through a crack in a bone-dry rock. It was absurdly vibrant. In that moment, the gravity of gratitude engaged. It wasn't a thought, should be grateful for this flower. It was a force that pulled my awareness out of the story of lack and into the shocking, undeniable isness of that flower. From that new center, my perception shifted. I felt the warmth of the sun not as an enemy, but as a primal energy. I felt the vast silence of the canyon not as emptiness, but as profound peace. The water in my bottle became a miraculous treasure. The journey didn't get easier, but my relationship to it transformed from a battle against lack into a participation in a stark, beautiful reality. Gratitude had pulled me from the spinning orbit of my fearful mind back to the grounded experience of my senses. So how do we engage this gravity when we're floating in worry? You don't force it. You simply notice one thing that is true in the sensory present. The feel of fabric on your skin. The sound of a refrigerator humming. The fact of breath moving in and out. You don't label it good or bad. You simply acknowledge its existence. This is here. This simple, non-judgmental acknowledgement is the seed of gratitude. It's the recognition of presence. From that seed, a feeling of thank you may or may not arise. It doesn't matter. The shift has occurred in your orientation, from evaluating to acknowledging, from lacking to being with. This kind of gratitude also radically reframes challenges. The controlling mind sees a problem as a violation of how things should be. A gratitude-oriented awareness can hold the problem while also acknowledging the support structure around it. Broken leg. A violation of mobility. But the gravity of gratitude can also pull you toward the recognition of modern medicine, the kindness of friends, the patience you're learning, the gift of slowed down time. This doesn't mean you're happy about the broken leg. It means you are no longer at war with the entirety of your reality. You can hold the pain and the support simultaneously. This complexity is where resilience is born. Ultimately, the gravity of gratitude leads you to a breathtaking realization. You are not a beggar in a barren universe, anxiously clutching the few coins you've been given. You are a child swimming in an ocean of gifts, most of which you didn't even ask for and cannot possibly earn. The gift of oxygen from trees, of gravity holding your world together, of a consciousness that can witness a sunset, of a heart that can break and mend. This realization brings humility, not pride. It ends the exhausting performance of trying to deserve life. You realize life is already given. Your job is not to earn it, but to receive it, to participate in it, to say, thank you, with the way you live. And from that full, grounded, grateful center, your actions in the world cease to be attempts to grab what you lack, and become natural expressions of the abundance you have sensed. You give because you have received. You help because you have been held. The gravity of gratitude pulls you into the current of generosity, completing the sacred cycle of receiving and giving, and anchoring you forever in the sufficiency of the here and now. The controlling mind is a perfectionist. It holds an idealized image of how you, others, and life itself should be. It then wages a constant, exhausting war against the messy, unpredictable, gloriously imperfect reality of what is. This war is the source of immense hidden suffering. The shame of not being good enough, the frustration with others for not meeting our standards, the anxiety that our lives don't match the curated highlight reels we compare them to. But what if the flaw is not in the reality, but in the idealized image? What if our imperfections are not mistakes to be erased, but essential features of our authentic, irreplaceable humanity? Peace is found not in achieving perfection, but in falling in love with the beautiful, broken, real thing. Consider the art of the Japanese wabi-sabi aesthetic we touched on earlier, but let's go deeper. It finds beauty in the weathered, the worn, the asymmetric. A wabi-sabi ceramic bowl is prized for its irregularities from the potter's hand, for the way the glaze pools unevenly, for the subtle crackle that comes with age and use. These aren't hidden, they are the very source of its character and value. The bowl tells a story of process, of humanity, of time. A mass-produced, flawless machine-made bowl is sterile by comparison, it has no story, no soul. Your life is that bowl. The cracks from heartbreak, the uneven glaze of your quirks, the asymmetries of your talents, these are not defects. They are the marks of a life actually lived. They are your kintsugi, the golden seams of your unique history. The controlling mind wants to airbrush them out. The heart of awareness learns to trace them with reverence. This has a profound psychological parallel in the work of Carl Rogers and the concept of the fully functioning person. Rogers believed that psychological health comes not from achieving a perfect, conflict-free state, but from moving toward congruence, where your self-concept aligns with your actual, moment-to-moment experiencing. The suffering comes from the gap between the ideal self, the perfectionist's image, and the real self. Healing involves dropping the rigid ideal and opening to the fluid, imperfect truth of your experience with unconditional positive regard. In other words, becoming your own wabi-sabi connoisseur. I learned this not through art, but through gardening, and specifically, through failure. I decided to grow vegetables with a vision of neat, bountiful rows like a magazine photo. I controlled the soil pH, the watering schedule, the plant spacing. And for a while, it worked. Then, nature happened. A squash vine grew wildly into the bean patch. Tomato plants developed strange spots. Weeds I didn't recognize appeared. My perfect plan was becoming a messy jungle. I fought it. Pruning aggressively, applying treatments, feeling frustrated. One day, exhausted, I just sat in the middle of it. I really looked. The bees didn't care about my rose. They were ecstatic in the tangled flowers of the weeds. The squash and beans, intertwined, seemed to support each other. The imperfect tomatoes still tasted glorious. My fight for perfection was ruining my enjoyment of the actual, living, abundant reality. I let go. The garden became wilder, more chaotic, and infinitely more interesting and productive. It became authentic. It was no longer my project, it was a collaborative ecosystem I participated in. My role shifted from dictator to grateful participant. Our personalities and lives are that garden. We try to prune ourselves into acceptable shapes, to weed out unacceptable emotions, to force growth in predetermined directions. This creates tension and sterility. Authenticity is allowing the wild, interconnected, somewhat messy ecosystem of your true being to express itself. It means letting the tears come even if they're messy. It means admitting, I don't know, even if it feels vulnerable. It means pursuing a quirky passion that doesn't fit your resume. It's the courage to be a complex, contradictory, evolving work in progress, not a finished, polished product. This extends to our relationships. We often love an idealized version of a person, and then suffer when they reveal their flaws. Authentic love is wabi-sabi love. It sees the cracks and loves the whole vessel more because of them. It doesn't seek to fix the other person into perfection, but to create a space where both can be their authentic, imperfect selves without fear. This is where true intimacy lives, not in the flawless facade, but in the shared, vulnerable reality. The practice is simple but challenging. Whenever you feel the pang of, I should be better than this, or, this shouldn't be happening, pause. See if you can meet the moment not with judgment, but with the curiosity of an archaeologist discovering a fascinating, ancient artifact, your own real experience. Instead of, I'm so anxious, I need to stop this, try, this is the texture of anxiety right now. It's jagged, it's hot. It's here. You are not approving of the anxiety, you are acknowledging the truth of it. In that acknowledgement, the war stops. The imperfect experience is allowed to be, and in that allowance, it often transforms or passes much more quickly. Embracing imperfection is the final surrender of the ego's project to be special, superior, and in control. It is the humble, joyous admission that you are part of the gloriously flawed, ever-changing, beautifully imperfect tapestry of life. And in that admission, you find a strange and lasting freedom. You are released from the prison of comparison. You can finally relax. You can laugh at your own mistakes. You can connect deeply with others through shared vulnerability. You become real. And as the Velveteen Rabbit learned, once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. Our consciousness is often oriented horizontally, like a traveler on a long road, always looking ahead to the next milestone, the next goal, the next moment when peace will finally be achieved. The past is a receding landscape behind us, the future is the promised land on the horizon. This horizontal orientation is the domain of the controlling mind. It plans, it anticipates, it regrets, it strives. But there is another axis entirely, the vertical. This is the axis of depth, of the eternal present. It does not lead forward or backward, it plunges downward and upward right where you are. It is the dimension of immediacy, of pure being, of the infinite richness contained within a single, unadorned moment. Peace is not found at the end of the horizontal road, it is discovered by diving into the vertical depth of the now. Imagine a lake. On the surface, there are waves, ripples, reflections, constantly changing, stirred by the wind. This is the horizontal dimension of our lives, the stories, the events, the comings and goings. The controlling mind is fixated on managing these surface waves. But beneath the surface, as you go deeper, the water becomes still, calm, vast. The deeper you go, the more timeless and quiet it becomes. This is the vertical dimension. You don't reach it by traveling across the lake, you reach it by sinking below its agitated surface. Your awareness is that lake. You can spend your life skating anxiously from wave to wave, or you can learn the art of diving. The French philosopher Simone Weil wrote about this with the concept of attention. For her, attention was not just mental focus, but a state of waiting without thought, a negative effort, where the soul empties itself to be filled by truth. It is a vertical descent into receptivity. The mystic Meister Eckhart spoke of the ground of the soul, a deep, still point within that is united with the divine, accessed not by doing, but by letting go and letting be. These are all maps for the vertical journey. I had a glimpse of this verticality in the most mundane place, a subway car, stalled in a tunnel. The horizontal mind erupted, I'm going to be late. This is terrible. What's wrong? Panic. Then, the announcement stopped. The lights flickered. There was nothing to do. Resigned, I leaned my head against the window. In that resignation, my awareness suddenly dropped. Instead of being locked in the story of stuck, I became aware of sensations. The cool glass on my forehead. The rhythm of my own breath, surprisingly calm beneath the panic. The low, mechanical hum of the idling train. The face of the stranger across from me, also waiting, etched with a story I would never know. In that drop from story to sensation, time changed. It didn't stretch with boredom, it dissolved. The 5-minute delay became a timeless capsule. There was no past or future, only a profound, almost holy immediacy. I wasn't waiting for anything anymore. I was simply in the waiting. And in that vertical depth, there was a quiet, unshakable peace. When the train jolted forward, it felt like being pulled up from the deep sea back to the choppy surface. I was on time for nothing important, but I had visited somewhere essential. The practice is to regularly invite your awareness to make this vertical move. It's not about changing what you're doing, but changing the dimension in which you experience it. You can do it right now. Pause. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. That is a vertical anchor, it exists only now. Listen to the ambient sound in the room. Don't label it, just hear it as pure vibration. That sound is happening now. Feel the next breath as it enters, fills you, and leaves. That breath is now. In doing this, you are not adding a new thought, you are descending below the stream of thoughts to the ground of direct perception. You are diving into the lake. This vertical abiding transforms suffering. Horizontal suffering is about the story, this bad thing happened, and now my future is ruined. Vertical awareness meets the same circumstance differently. It feels the raw sensations of the moment, the ache in the heart, the tightness in the throat, without immediately weaving them into a catastrophic narrative. It holds the sensation in the vast, still space of present awareness. In that space, the sensation is just a sensation. It is intense, perhaps, but it is not my ruined life. It is a wave on the surface of a deep, still lake. The lake is not threatened by the wave. By abiding in the depth, you can withstand any surface storm. This is the secret behind the serenity of those who have faced great adversity. They have, often by necessity, learned to find refuge not in a better future, the horizontal hope, but in the profound, unassailable reality of the present moment, the vertical ground. Viktor Frankl, writing of his experiences in Auschwitz, identified that the last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This choice is only possible if there is a dimension within you, the vertical depth of conscious awareness, that is not determined by the horizontal circumstances. It is your inner citadel. So, throughout your day, experiment. When you feel rushed, anxious, or scattered, caught on the horizontal surface, simply stop. For 10 seconds, don't try to fix anything. Feel your feet on the floor. See the space around you. Hear. Smell. Descend. You are not running out of time, you are entering its only real dwelling place, the eternal now. From that depth, your horizontal actions will arise with more clarity, calm, and power, because they will be rooted in the infinite, rather than desperate to reach a finite point on a distant horizon. You will live from the source, not just toward the goal. We often think of inner peace as a private achievement, a personal sanctuary we build against the chaos of the world. We seek it for ourselves, to feel better, to suffer less. But there is a beautiful, often overlooked secret: your inner state is not a closed loop. It ripples outward, affecting the very field of life around you in subtle yet profound ways. The peace you cultivate within is not an escape from the world, it is a vital contribution to it. When you stop the inner war of control, you cease feeding the energy of conflict into the collective psyche. You become a living center of calm in a stormy sea, and that calm is contagious. This isn't mystical thinking, it's grounded in both physics and psychology. In physics, the concept of entrainment describes how oscillating systems fall into sync. Pendulums on the same wall will eventually swing together. Fireflies in a forest will blink in unison. Our brainwaves, heart rates, and even emotions can entrain with those around us. This is the science behind mood contagion. A room feels tense when an anxious person enters. A gathering becomes joyful when one person laughs freely. Your nervous system is a broadcasting and receiving station. When you are in a state of inner conflict, control, fear, resentment, you broadcast a frequency of dissonance. When you are in a state of surrendered presence, calm, open, accepting, you broadcast a frequency of coherence. Others may not consciously notice, but their systems feel it. Think of a still pond. When you throw a rock of anger into your own inner pond, the ripples don't stop at your skin. They travel outward, affecting your tone of voice, your body language, the subtle energy you emit, influencing every interaction you have. Conversely, when you become still, that stillness also ripples out. Your calm presence can de-escalate a tense conversation. Your patient listening can make someone feel seen and safe. Your non-reactive awareness in the face of another's anger gives them space to come down from their own heightened state. You are not solving their problem, you are providing a stable, peaceful field in which they can find their own solution. I witnessed this circle of compassion in a small, powerful way in a crowded government office. The lines were long, the clerks were overworked, the air was thick with collective frustration. One man at the counter was becoming irate, his voice rising, blaming the clerk for a bureaucratic delay. The clerk, a tired-looking woman, initially bristled, her own stress rising. You could feel the conflict energy spreading through the room like a heat wave. Then, she did something remarkable. She stopped. She took a slow, visible breath, looked down at her desk for a second, and then looked back at the man, not with defiance, but with a kind of weary softness. In a calm, quiet voice, she said, "Sir, I understand this is frustrating. I am frustrated too. Let's see what we can do, one step at a time." She didn't give in, she didn't fight. She became present. The man, disarmed by the lack of resistance, stammered and quieted down. The entire room's atmosphere shifted. The collective frustration didn't vanish, but the sharp edge of hostility softened. One person's conscious return to presence created a small zone of sanity that benefited everyone. She was practicing peace not just for herself, but as a public service. This reframes our entire spiritual endeavor. It's not a narcissistic project of self-optimization. It is an act of ecological responsibility for the human psyche. By cleaning the waters of your own mind, you stop polluting the shared emotional environment. By finding peace, you become a source of peace for others, often without saying a word. The Buddha taught that a mind free from greed, hatred, and delusion naturally radiates metta, loving-kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha, equanimity. These are not actions you do, they are qualities that emanate from a peaceful mind, like fragrance from a flower. So, how do we consciously participate in this circle? First, release the idea that your inner work is separate from your contribution to the world. Your most fundamental service may be to become calm and clear. Second, in interactions, practice being the pond rather than adding to the waves. When met with aggression, instead of reacting with matching energy, see if you can first find your own center, a breath, a sensation in the feet, and respond from there. Your response will be different. It may not change the other person, but it will change the dynamic. Third, understand that compassion starts with yourself. You cannot broadcast a frequency you do not hold. The kindness you offer to your own anxiety, your own imperfections, is the same kindness that will naturally flow to others. It's a single circle. In the end, the pursuit of personal peace and the healing of the world are not two paths. They are one. As you let go of the need to control your own life, you naturally become less controlling of others. As you make peace with your own flaws, you become more tolerant of the flaws of the world. As you find sufficiency within, you stop contributing to the culture of frantic consumption and competition. Your very presence becomes a subtle, powerful force for harmony. You realize you were never just a drop in the ocean, struggling to stay afloat. You are the ocean in a drop, and your stillness affects the whole sea. Your peace is a gift you give simply by being. And in that giving, you receive the deepest peace of all, knowing you are part of the healing, not the wound.